I can't hear nothing. Hello, can you hear me? I can't hear you.
Oh, look, I'm just talking to y'all on mute. So what I was stating is that we typically don't ask you all to share the videos when we do them. Tonight is one of those nights that we will ask you to take a moment and actually share this live video on your page and share it with other people. It's a very heavy topic, and because it's a very heavy topic, we think that it's imperative and important that we actually get shared before we get started. So we're
Mhm.
just gonna take a second. I know Tyra and Keon, well, Keon don't do Facebook because he petty. But if you'd like to go ahead and share it, Tyra, to any people, we'll take a moment for you to get it started.
Okay, there you go. Share it. Okay, we're live, right now.
Yes, we are.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Loud Conversations. Thank you for coming to this special show that we're having today. Trying to share it on some of my other groups. Okay.
Okay, and Tyra, we're ready to start whenever you're ready.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Loud Conversations. You know, we're always happy to be here with you. We missing a few links. I guess is Keon there? Is that
Yes,
Keon I see? Hey,
yes.
Keon. So, um, we're always happy to see you with Shanae and Keon and me and Nate. Nate is not able to tune in right now. I don't know if he'll tune in later, but you know, he's here with us in spirit. So today our show is about gun violence, and we named it "Stop the Count" because we're always counting how many shootings we have, how many times it was in a year, and you know we want to stop the count. And it ends with us. So today our show is about talking about resolutions that we have, um, things that we should be doing in order to um, you know, tackle this issue that we're having with gun violence. Um, I know that we all be upset and we all just be all in our emotions a lot of times, you know, things, you know, happen in our community. I know I was, and I'm always am. But, you know, it gets to a point where you'd be like, what can we do instead of just sitting here saying, you know, this is not right, you know, blaming this person, blaming that person, blaming, you know, well, what can we do as a community to help resolve some of these issues? And, you know, we know it's more than one step. We know it's not one thing that's going to cure all to end all, but where can we start this process so that we may be able to um, begin the process. So we're here today to talk about some of these solutions. Shanae is going to put them in order for us, and then we want to tackle each issue one by one. I'm so happy that Keon is here. You know, Keon is younger than us, so it's coming from a different perspective, in which we always need that. But today is a show that is very much needed. So thank you all, whoever's tuned in. Thank you. Share the video, you know, let your friends tune in, your groups tune in, because this is something that we really need to be embarking on. So Shanae, I'm gonna go ahead and give it to you.
Okay, give me one moment. Nate is joined in, so we're gonna
Oh,
get Nate on.
Peace and
Hey,
love,
Nate,
everybody.
welcome.
hey Nate.
Peace and love.
Y'all. Sorry, y'all. I had to travel, so I don't want to look like I'm being unsafe. So I'm gonna cut my video off, but I'm here for this conversation. I didn't want to miss it. So
All right. So Nate is here. So everyone, Nate's here.
So what
All
I want
right.
to do is we're going to set ground rules. So I want to let everybody know that tomorrow marks 1 year that we actually had a massive meeting over at the Thomas Center that had almost 100 people there in response to shootings that had actually happened within our community. And I think we are very reactive, and it's the nature of all people that we become reactive when major things happen. And so our reactivity is one of the challenges that we must overcome. So I want to do with tonight is anybody that is tuned in, we want to engage you in your chat, is that we want you to use one word and describe how you are feeling right now. So I want you to drop that word in the chat. Hey Danielle, we're streaming live talking about gun violence.
Mm-hmm.
We're on the live. Okay. So as you all are chat dropping in your one word, I want to lay out some ground rules. I want us to get into the habit of doing this because it helps to shape conversations that we're
As
going
you
to need to
all
have
are
now.
chat dropping in one word, I want to lay out some
I'm
ground
sorry.
rules.
I want us to get into the habit of
Sorry
doing this
about
because
that.
it
Let
helps to
me turn
shape
this down.
conversations that we're going to need to have now.
Chat dropping in one word.
Okay.
Okay.
Also, for y'all, earlier in the chat, I dropped a link so you're able to connect with Restream so that we can actually see who some of the people are that are posting. Because now it says for some people like Facebook user, I will drop that again so that you're actually able to connect to our chat using the link. And so I put it there for you so that you can see it as we get started. I want to lay out ground rules because it's going to help to shape conversations that we have when we're going into those. One, I don't care where you are in whatever space. I know myself, I'm known for speaking my truth. I want us to get into the habit of speaking our truth. We can respect the views of others, listen to others, and honor their experiences. And it's time to be open and honest whenever we're within groups. Oftentimes, people hang back and are not very honest or open in discussion and do more listening. Sometimes we don't feel adequate to discuss whatever the topic is, or we don't feel like we have enough knowledge. You being a person that's impacted and loving people that are impacted makes you the expert. And so, in order for us to unlearn some things, in order for us to challenge the thought process of others, we have to be willing to speak our truth, be respectful, listen, and honor each other's experiences. Also, I want us to get to the point where we're empowering members to engage. It is one of the reasons that I asked everybody that is tuning in, and I ask you again throughout, drop one word and tell us how you're feeling about the topic, about our community, or just in general. We want you to get to the point of being deliberate to communicate your needs. We often can't address needs because people don't communicate needs until things are too far gone or there's too much that's happening. We need to be more proactive about taking care of each other as a community. You're going to really see why this is so important as we lay out some of the root causes. Additionally, judge the message, not the messenger. So often we refuse to come to the table for solutions. So often we refuse to engage for solutions. So often we refuse to listen because we want to judge the messenger instead of the message. I've been very clear with myself and with others, and my kids will tell you that I am always on them about that. Take the message, despite how it was said, or the messenger, and try to learn and grow from that because there's value in everything, even from people that we don't agree with. Also, listen to constructive criticism, and it's time to adapt and action for us to make changes. Additionally, we need to get to the point, and this is something that is programming that has to be unlearned, especially in my community. Presume positive intentions and allow differences in communication methods. And so what that means is when somebody speaks to you in a particular manner or a particular method, you are automatically going to assume that it is coming from a positive place, even if you don't understand it. We are so closed off to difference of ideas and opinions that we're not willing to learn, and it's literally killing us. Our children are literally being locked away in cages, and it's something as we as a community can do something about. Understand, and I've always been clear with this, in my space, everybody is welcome. We don't have to like each other, but we're gonna love each other in order to get the work done. It is time out for that. It's not even just the lives that are lost from being victims of gun violence, but even people and children who perpetuate gun violence. They are victims too. Also, criticism must be constructive. We can communicate in a way that is positive to get the outcomes that we want. I wanted to lay that out because there's such a level of frustration. I want each one of us that are now here that are tuned in to kind of weigh in for 30 seconds to a minute about your thoughts when you heard about the last shooting that happened near the toward the Clarence R. Kelly Center. And Tyra, if you'll start off and then we'll go around in a circle.
Okay. Um, when I heard about it, I was really upset. I know that I've done some work back in, a few years back. I've done a lot of work in that area, and it just hurt me because number one, it's a center. Number two, it was kids in there. Number three, I just feel like that community is just trapped in a bubble, and there are limited resources and opportunities over there. And no matter what you put over there that is good, there's still nothing over there for them. So they're like trapped in a bubble, and the same things is just happening over and over and over again. And so, it made me feel real frustrated because I know that there could have been more opportunities and more resources over there in the area and plenty of other areas, not just that area, but over there in the area that could have prevented something like this from happening. And I was upset because I know that if there isn't any resources and opportunities that's over there, then these things will continue to happen. So, sometimes, I was just at a standstill. I was like, okay, so what do you do? I was just so angry at the time and hurt and upset. And I was just having flashbacks about a lot of different things that happened over there and why. So, yeah, that kind of hurt me. That hit home right there.
Okay. Nate or Keon?
I'll really quickly. For me, I think it's just, all of this stuff is really humbling. Is really sad, like in a true sense of the term, and just knowing the level of violence that is taking place in our community, right? Seeing how like violence has evolved in Gainesville, especially, is really concerning. Um, to speak to Taj's point really quickly, it's just crazy because we understand, right? Like there are solutions that already exist. Um, we just have to put them to action, right? And we have to hold people who are responsible for making these things happen accountable, right? And that being us, that being people who are in the community who care about wanting to see these changes, right? Like we have to make them, and then we have to identify the opportunities and resources that are available, and bring them to the community. Obviously, there are barriers that exist, to do that, and also barriers,
Hmm.
but like it's real, man. Like our kids are really killing each other at a rate that's just, I don't know, man. It's sad, man. It hurts, but I know that, right. Like if we don't make these changes, they're not going to happen. So
Hmm.
at the end of the day, right, like we gotta do it. And so we gotta have these sort of conversations. But then we gotta be about action and really taking the step and pouring into not just this idea of community, but like the individuals that exist in the community. We have to change our environment, man. We gotta change our outside environment, and we gotta change inside of ourselves. Some real fundamental changes that we gotta make soul level. But I do feel good that we're doing that. But like, yo, it's reality is disheartening right now.
Hmm.
Keon, can you hear?
And
Are you unmuted? We can't hear you, son. You might have to leave and come back. Okay. While Keon is getting his tech worked out, I will weigh in. Um,
hmm.
I actually don't have any words. And I think I don't have any words because I understand what the solutions are and I understand that this is actually a system that is working in the manner in which it was designed. And that's what's frustrating for me. I wanted us to know and understand who is impacted by gun violence. Everybody, the system, our community, our kids, law enforcement, parents, grandparents, pastors, youth directors, schools, churches, politicians, families, teachers, and government are all impacted by gun violence. So if this is something that everybody is impacted by, why is it that people in positions of power are quiet? We cannot, and I said this the other day, arrest our way out of this. So I want to make a point, but Keon is back. Keon, are you able? Is your sound working?
Oh, can you hear me now?
We can.
Mhm.
So I was just responding to the shooting that she was talking about. Right?
In general, gun violence in your youth in general.
Oh, well, that shooting more so, and I heard about that one. It was um, more just to the fact of like it's almost for things are inevitably gonna happen. And it's sort of like the gun violence tip. The more and more I just think about it, it's just like I guess the realization of it. Because I guess like when I was young, we used to, I guess we used to feel this type of way. I don't really feel this type of way, but we used to, like you didn't allow us to like play with toy guns or be with like up until we was like 14, 15. Like it wasn't no running no water guns or nothing like that. So, but like and you see everybody else playing with it, and you just saying like you feel some type of way, I guess, in that moment. But the more like now, like I don't know, like I've never in my life felt like I needed a gun. Where like I feel like I need a gun to feel safe, or I need a gun to be able to go about my day. Can't move around without a gun. And when you got that, like the more guns there is, the more people that feel like they got more, things escalate, things happen. So it's just like I felt in the normalization that we are. I guess American culture, guns and just like having.
All right. So you did make some points. So I want to talk about this first, and then I'm going to respond to your point. So on June the 29th, there was a big press release that was done by the state attorney. I didn't even bother to weigh in because it frustrated the hell out of me. In that press release, the state attorney announced that they were indicting 11 defendants, and each of these were pretty much for gun violence. So what they stated is that through an enterprise, so basically gang activity, that these 11 people were engaged in this activity. So they watched these people, these young men, from April 4th of 2017 to May 9th of 2022. So I attempted to get the numbers of shootings that these were affiliated with, and I attempted to get the numbers of deaths that actually stem from this, and was told I could not get it. But trust me, I'm not going to stop until I get it. And the reason I want to point that out is, the way that law enforcement looks at it, we just going to watch for 5 years, and then we're going to decide to do something. Think about all of the violence that was perpetuated in 5 years. So first, I want to read you the date of birth of these children, because that's what they are. February the 16th of 2004, February the 22nd of 2005, January 9th of 2002, April 7th of 2004, December 3rd of 2002, September 6th of 2003, February 14th of 2004, January 3rd, 1998, January 21st of 2004. So I wanted to read that. I want to ask you, Keon, how old are you?
23. We're about to be 23 in a couple of days.
What year were you born?
1999.
So that means you are older than every person that I named except one. How old were you 5 years ago?
17, 18.
Okay. So if you got children that are on this indictment that's 5 years younger than you, that means they were what? That means we count for 10 years. So we're talking about as young as 13. And I want to drive this point home to the audience because we keep looking for law enforcement to fix this, not understanding that law enforcement is a part of the problem. So the fact that law enforcement watched 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds for 5 years, it was only with the intention of throwing them in the trash. And so their importance, instead of rehabilitating these children and figuring out how to get our youth the help that they need, was to find a way to lock them away in a cage. And I need to tie this together for my people because we perpetuate it. When I see the response to children being indicted, when science, this is not Shanae talking, scientifically, they don't even have the ability to fully understand their decisions, and science says to the age of 25. So we need to ask ourselves as a community, why are we okay allowing the system to throw our kids in the trash as early as 13? That's where we got to start. The reason we have to start with that thought process is because many of us don't see our children as children, and we don't have the ability to help them. Keon made a point. He never felt the need to need a gun in order to feel safe. You know why? Because he came from a home where his mom made him feel safe. When his mom had the ability to feel safe, I put him in spaces. He had places to go where there were other role models outside his mother that made him feel safe. Our children in our community don't feel safe. So in response to not feeling safe and not feeling connected is they join gangs. It's the same thought process behind people who join the KKK or who join these nationalist groups that turn around and go shoot up and kill 9 Black people like the guy did in the grocery store. I need us to know and understand when they say, well, oh, that's what they get. They knew they was doing was wrong. But literally, they fully don't. I use the terminology all the time that healthy communities are always safe, but safe communities are not always healthy. We have a city commission that when money was allocated for youth development programs, they decided to give it to law enforcement, GPD. Well, if we're giving law enforcement $300,000 and law enforcement solution is to watch them for 5 years and then brag about locking away children, there's a disconnect. If we're giving law enforcement the money and the only way for it to be utilized is after children have already been in trouble, that's not a responsible use and an allocation of funds. Us as a community, where we're lacking is, why are we not turning up to city commission meetings in droves and packing out the city commission to ask them why our money, because that's our money we paying GRU, that's our money we paying for property taxes, is not being properly allocated in order to create programs to help our children feel safe. Why is that money not being properly allocated to help our children address their mental health issues because of trauma that is going on in the community? Research states that people who perpetuate violence were victims first. So how is it okay for us to throw children away for perpetuating violence if we know that they started being violent because they were victims first? So now that's the professional Shanae talking. Let the real Shanae talk to you. Literally what happened over 5 years is what we call a street shit. And street shit in the hood, in the manner in which it is we don't have anything, so we ain't got nothing to lose. So the only thing we got is our respect, and we'll die for it. So therefore, one of the ways that you give children and other people something to lose is you give them something worth having. Something worth having is quality housing. Something worth having is an education that means something. Something worth having is actually having a skill where I feel like I can be of value instead of trying to float through the world and figure out what my value is. And I need us to change how we think in order to be able to understand that. So this whole deal about, well, we're going to just blame the parents. It's the parents' fault. Well, guess what? I said it last week. I said all the time. Maybe a parent only gave what they had. So therefore, if we keep stating that it's on the parents, then all we're doing is helping to perpetuate cycles that have happened over decades. In order to break the cycle, in order to stop the count, we are the people that come together because our chain is only as strong as our weakest link. I want to show as soon as something happens, the first thing that are most impacted say is what are they going to do? It's not what they are going to do. It is what we are going to do. I'm going to give you some data, and then we're going to go back to the group of us so everybody can actually weigh in. So the root causes of gun violence. Shanae didn't say this. This is research that's done. Harvard Law has it. This particular one, there's so many, and I actually cite them. But pretty much any entity that's done research, the systemic and root causes of gun violence are all the same. Income inequality, in a lot to account it, we have the highest gap between black and white. Poverty, in a lot to account it, we have the highest between black and white. Underfunded public housing. We don't have any of that. We just literally had a whole video last Tuesday discussing to you the lack of actual adequate and quality housing and literally how it's about to get worse. And part of that is about decisions that are being made by people like our city and our county. Underperforming schools. I've been screaming, hooping, and hollering, advocating for what's wrong in our schools since 2016 when I got back here. Yet we're refusing to come to the table. I just weighed in on a post the other day because people came in and stated as parents, when we actually understand fully that it's actually structural, and that I'm very clear. I go to school meetings at least once or twice a week with families, and none of these are families that didn't do their part. There's structural issues within our school system, lack of opportunity and perceptions of hopelessness. Why would you care about life if everything about your life has told you that nobody values yours? And easy access to firearms by high-risk people. That easy access to firearms by high-risk people, that's a white people thing. So let's be clear, the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms was literally to terrorize free slaves and to terrorize slaves. So let's be clear on that. That's the root of it. So even now in the state of Florida, where Governor DeSantis wants to sign a bill for constitutional carry, that's for the legal right to terrorize us. If we don't understand that, go look at what happened to Marquise Glockner. Go look and remind yourself what happened to Trayvon Martin. Go and look what happened with Jordan Davis. Go look at Marissa Alexander's story. Go look at Diamond Ford's story. So there are stories of black people who legally were able to own their guns, and they could legally prove that they were a threat, and they were locked up and incarcerated and fighting the way out of the system. And on the other end, we got white people that have their right to bear arms who legally hunted, because that's what George Zimmerman did, Trayvon Martin, and other people since then, and they've been able to utilize that it was self-defense. We had the young man out of Hawthorne, and I so wish I had his name right now, that was killed in the parking garage. GPD didn't even bother to investigate and just stated, oh, it was self-defense, and kept going, and that shooter was white. So please know that this whole right to bear arms is not about justice for us. It's a full injustice to be able to continue to perpetuate systems. And so I want to open it up to Tyra, Kiana, Nate, whoever, and talk to us about the root causes of gun violence and your thoughts on this is what actually causes gun violence.
Well, I want to go back to resources and opportunities. So, and the system has set up that in certain, and in a lot of communities around the nation, especially in marginalized communities, that they have made sure that opportunities and resources are very limited, or if not any at all. So when you live in a space where you have limited opportunities and resources, it's kind of like a whole bunch of rats in a cage and there's one piece of cheese. Okay, so everybody is going after these resources and these opportunities, and it's not enough to go around, you know. A lot of times, whatever is in our communities that the system has put there, these drugs and this crime and how things were set up by them, we make those opportunities and resources in order for us to, and for people who live in communities like that, those things become opportunities and resources. And that's what people, a lot of people don't understand also too. So I think, but I know that it is the responsibility, because we are the taxpayers, and it is the responsibility that we do hold our officials accountable for what is being built in our communities, what type of opportunities and resources in our communities, how our schools are being funded, is there adequate housing in our communities, because this is what makes you feel hopeless. and that you don't have anything. So I'm just going to go out here and I'm just going to do whatever it is that I got to do to get whatever it is that I need to get. And this is the attitude of, this is the attitude. And this has been the attitude for a very long time. These attitudes are nothing new. These things have been going on for a long time. And I just think that it's really time for us as a community, you know, to get up and do what we need to do to make sure that these opportunities and these resources, that our tax money is being used so that we may be able to alleviate some of the pressure that is on our youth and our future and us too, because it's just not the youth out here that's shooting and killing one another. It's grown people out here killing one another too. We're all in the same situation. So everybody is feeling the pressure of what's not being provided in these communities and in these communities. So when we talk about it not being the parent fault and the parents, like I had made a post a couple of weeks ago, some of y'all be asking these parents to use drills and all they was given was hammers. I also believe in mentoring for parents also, because if parents don't know, if they just do not know, they just don't know. So in order for us to bridge that gap between youth and parents, I believe in mentoring for adults also. I really do. And that way we can have the families grow together. So if we can just get to that kind of point, then, you know, I think that will be better.
Keon, what's your thoughts?
A lot of what Ms. Tar said, from the perspective of when crimes of poverty and a lot of things like, you know, it's a lot of things, but I do feel like it's another like layer to, at least when we talk about guns, what we talking about now and how it's like you know, the epidemic and this is how you like kids come to school with guns, stuff like that. And I feel like more of like, you know, since like you know, I'm young about things and we just talking from the younger point of view, I think it's just become too like it's not even the necessary like sometimes it is situations people are, you know, they don't have enough to eat or they don't have enough this or enough that. So nowadays are a lot of it to do with just what the culture is now. Like I gotta have the Draco with me. I gotta have you know, this, that, the third. It's almost like the cool thing to do. And I've seen in a lot of situations where exactly what it's not the parents. Like you got parents that's trying to do it, like trying to steer the kids in the right direction, like doing all that they can, but the culture is just like they like oh, I want to be like Lil Durk or Young Boy or this person or that person. They don't see the other side like that. We was just talking about that. A lot of us, we don't. To me, like I was like fortunate or unfortunate, however you want to look at it, see that other side. Like before I got to the 15, 16 years old, because a lot of people I grew up with that I looked up to got locked up. So I was able to see that locked up. You will not see your family. It will be consequences to your actions. But a lot of kids not able to see that, and you feel like you see a lot of these people that third, and everybody feel like they're untouchable. Like, so they feel like, hey, I can do this, and I kind of just feel like we have to get to the point of like when my mom was literally where it's you got to make it incentive. You got to give people incentives to say like, I don't gangster, or I don't want to be that because that's not appealing to me. I would rather go get a career and do it this way because I see much more of a long. My last point is I think it all comes down to for us as young, you do not see people like regular people. Like you don't feel like a regular person. You can get a regular job and you can go do all the only people you see doing the things you want to do in life is rappers, people like that who is putting on that in those positions on purpose and make them play that role on purpose, generation.
Mm-hmm.
And we gotta fight that. Like that's what we have to fight right there to show that hey, not what it is. A lot of them don't have money. A lot of them don't not who you think stop believing that that's what you want to be.
Son, tonight your audio is shoddy. I don't know what's going on with it, so I like to point that out. I do also want to point out, because as my son states that now, and I want to point this out for other parents, we had some journeys. And so I need people to know and understand that. We had, as a mom of a black son, we had some journeys. And I can tell you why the community is so important, because sometimes you're a parent that give you your all. So many people I talk to, as their teenagers start to come up, they be like, oh my gosh, I was like, you bammed them yet? And they laugh when I say that. What happens is when a child is trying to assert their independence in a world where everybody seems so free and you have rules, it seems like they're missing out on something. And so I remember telling Keon things, and it went in over my head. He wanted to debate with me about it because my kids did have a voice. And somebody else on the outside could come in and tell him exactly what I said. And it sounded so different. He would come tell it to me like it was a new thing. I say, son, I've been telling you that all the time. And that's another point that I want to make to people. When you say parents, it's a lot of parents that are giving it their all, that are guiding their kids in the right manner. And we still need the enforcement of the village. When the village is coming in behind the parents, it's like, yeah, be cool and all. But what your mom stated is this because of XYZ. For whatever reason, it sounds like fingernails on a chalkboard when a parent says it sometimes. But when somebody else it sounds like it's honey. And it sounds like it's music to our children's ears. So this whole nonsense that me and mine, that's another part of that particular issue. And also, as my son states many things that they saw, there were internal battles in my family in order for us not to perpetuate generational curses. And it's a culture thing. I remember fussing back and forth with my brothers when they're stating, oh, you're making them out to be a nerd. They're not, in their mind, saying anything wrong at all. They were giving advice from the information that they had. If we continue to stay in our own bubbles and talk to our own people, it's an echo chamber. It's easy to talk to people that agree with you, but the change comes when you're talking to people that don't agree with you and people that have different perspectives. That's the only way. I'm frustrated because when I watch some of these things, many people perpetuate a lot of the same myths and fallacies. Oh, it's the music, it's the music. Why the music is one component, we actually are who we eat. So if all they're taking in is the music, and the only time that there's joy and the only time that our youth see people that are successful, of course they're going to gravitate toward that. If, like in Atlanta, where my kids went to school, they saw mathematicians that were black, they see scientists that are black, they see teachers, they see principals, they see administrators that are actually black, that are regular people. The research actually even shows and states this, that how much better off all students are when there's black representation in all spaces. We don't have that here. The World Health Organization and also the John Jay College of Criminal Justice both released similar recommendations regarding gun violence. They state that it should be viewed as a public health crisis. Their recommendations to reduce it is without reliance on incarceration. Let me state that again. The World Health Organization and John Jay College of Criminal Justice, there's Harvard Law School, there's Yale Law, that all give similar recommendations that we do not reduce gun violence with reliance on incarceration. So if all of the experts know this, why is it we're still relying on the police to fix this? And just common sense, 1+1 = 2. If the police were the ones who are adequate at fixing this, why is it getting worse, although both law enforcement agencies are getting more money? This ain't rocket science. Notable recommendations include changing the cultural and social norms around violence, promoting pro-social bonds, which means empathy and concern for others. We can't do that behind these screens and on the computer. A lot of empathy is missing because we're not engaging with each other. We can't teach kids empathy if we don't model empathy. So sending our kids to schools, just like over there, I believe at Childs, where they just hired a BRT, which is the dean, who is a Trump supporter and very vocal about that and wealthy. Why is that the BRT for a bunch of black kids that's over in a particular school? It's hiring decisions like that with the school board that make absolutely no sense, but that actually perpetuates the school to prison pipeline. It also includes identifying and supporting victims with the aim of preventing recurrent violence. So, for example, a birthday party got shot up last year. How many people have offered meaningful follow-up and support to the families of those children that was there? I'm gonna probably tell you none. So therefore, if we know that people who perpetuate violence were victims of violence first, we know in certain communities they hear gunshots all the time. They've seen people be shooting. Why are we not knocking on doors in the streets and talking to and engaging our neighbors and helping them to feel safe? Why are we not holding law enforcement accountable for the manner in which they engage our community and take care of it so that we could trust them to protect and serve? Because that they don't do. Keeping people on the force like Bobby White, who slammed a 15-year-old on the hood of the car, and then he was allowed to repaint his image as the basketball cop. There was just a young man that GPD officer sicked the dogs on him. And this happens all the time with GPD and dog bites, that he actually was flown to Tampa because he's about to lose his eye. But we're in a community that says that we care, but we do nothing about it. We don't call the police in our community because we don't trust the police. So why are we not holding law enforcement accountable for revamping that in a meaningful way? Not look at my program and let's check a box. But that means twofold: building proactive programs, but where there's real accountability. Keon sits on the Police Advisory Council, and the number of times that he's in the newspaper for stating basic common sense things, because even that's a council that's paper pushing, is not really getting anything done in order to create a positive impact. You have a state attorney who talks a good game, but when it's time to produce metrics on how to change things in our community and actually say, well, okay, what's going on with this diversion program and that program, there are none. If you're not tracking it, it means you don't care about it. And when you tell me that you create a diversion program and the way it's determined is by a person deciding it, then that means that bias that's in the system is always there. So we still are not going to get the justice that we need and the help that we need. Additionally, it says reducing financial stress and actually engaging our youth. And the youth development program that the city of Gainesville developed for youth that are already doing well is no benefit to the youth that we needed the most. Magnet programs throughout our school system that the only way you can get into it is if you get certain test scores and you're already doing well, that don't benefit our students that are all within our community. The fact that there are zero existing proactive programs for at-risk youth. We got Riker House. Riker House can't be the be-all, end-all. There's a problem because youth are unique, just like we all are. They're not monoliths. There is, even with funding and allocations, we have Children's Trust of Alachua County. The programs that they fund are not the programs that most directly impact the youth that need it the most. And I can tell you these things, not so that we can sit and listen, but so that you can take action. Additionally, when you look at this as a public health crisis, we understand a concept called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And basically with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, in order for a person to be a contributory member of society, certain needs have to be met. The first needs are physiological, which is breathing, which is food, which is water, which is sex. Yes, I said sex, which is sleep, and homeostasis. Well, the body is in homeostasis when it has adequate food. The body can go into homeostasis when it actually is able to sleep and rest because it's not stressed from anxiety. So because people are stressing money, they're stressing GRU bills, they're stressing rent, they're stressing how they're going to feed their kids because there's no grocery store in East Gainesville. They're stressing transportation, that they're not able to even go to the next level. The second one is safety, which is what Keon even mentioned. I never felt the need to have a gun because I felt safe. It's the security of the body. It's the security of employment. It's the security of resources. It's the security of your morality and the mortality of your family. It's the security of your health. With the number of people we have in Alachua County with no health insurance, with the number of people we have in Alachua County that are not making an adequate wage, with the number of people that their morality is being questioned because the first thing that we do is demean Black families. How is it that we expect them to be contributory members to society when we're a part of the problem? The next level is loving and belonging. So mind you, I know many people who haven't met the first two tiers. So we haven't even gotten to friendships and family and intimacy. How can our children have viable friendships if their safety and security needs are not met? How can they value people enough not to shoot and have a shootout in front of a community center if the research and the psychology of shows we haven't even given them the basic needs so these things don't happen? Then we get to esteem. Esteem is self-esteem, self-confidence, achievement, respect to others, respect by others. So I'm here to tell you, our FSA scores, especially for Black students, shows we're only in some schools only 8% of Black kids are proficient. So if we know we're not taking care of the physiological needs like food, we know our community is not taking care of employment and housing needs. We know our community is not taking care of friendships and familial needs by not providing the basic needs. And then we know that our kids are being beat down in the school system and the people amongst us, what you know, I call you uppity people. How is it that we expect them to respect others? How is it that we respect them to be respectful when they model what they see from us and they've never been respected? How is it that we expect them not to pick up a gun? How do we expect them to be engaged in political and civic things if we're not taking care of any of the basic needs of a family? And then the final phase of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is self-actualization. That's where morality comes in. That's where the creativity comes in for them to be successful. That's where spontaneity comes in. That's where problem solving comes in. That's where acceptance comes in. And that's where we become contributory members of society. I wanted to tie this together so that we can learn and understand as a community what the problems are. So now, when we get that understanding, we can get to the point of what solutions look like. And solutions for this short conversation are not quick. I know the first step is on Saturday, June the 16th, which is Keon's birthday, and he's gonna be out in the hot sun with the rest of us for a few hours. We will be going to knock on doors in the Duval community. And the reason for that is the community is one that's already being engaged by Greater Duval. It's the community that's already being engaged by other people. But they need people like my fat ass to go out there and talk to them on their level. We need people to go and knock on doors and be like, hey, all of this going on, they're going to push you out of this community. Where is it that you're going to have to go? The city got plans to build a pond across from Clarence R. Kelly. That ain't for Black. I gave you the story on many lives, and I'll give it to you again. Desmond Meade shared this with somebody who shared it with me. Michael Vick is known for going to jail for what? He was housing dogs in the same cage with lack of resources, which was lack of food, lack of adequate housing, lack of water. When Michael Vick found out, did we blame Michael Vick or did we blame the dogs because they started to fight and kill each other? We blame Michael Vick. In our community, that's the same thing with our system. Do we blame people who are victims of our system or do we blame the system and create systemic change? While I do believe there's a level of capability that is out there for our people that have been oppressed, that does not just come. Who should name? Even me became at age 43 didn't happen in 1 year or 3 years or 5 years. It happened in a culmination of events, in a culmination of things that happened. That's the same thing with Tyra. That's the same thing even with Keon, my son. Keon self-actualized earlier because his mom self-actualized. And until we understand to stop blaming people and finger pointing and actually address the actual cancer, which is the system, we're going to keep being here. It's going to continue to be a bloody summer. We're going to continue to feel like we need to lock our kids in the house, which is not going to save and protect them. So the first call to action that I have is for people to join me on Saturday at Clarence R. Kelly from 11 to 3. We actually going to knock on doors and engage the people in the community related to the gun violence. We want to ask them how they feel. We want to ask them if they have possible solutions. We want to invite them and to actually join the table. From there, we build our community related to organizing. From there, we determine how to proceed forward. We often want to come up with all of the solutions without engaging the people within the actual community. I'm putting this call out to action. If you know people that live in Greater Duval, I don't have time to call everybody. Literally, I have my daughter and two other teenagers in here making over 220 calls to people. That's the level of desperation that I have. But guess what? They did a phenomenal job. So perhaps we need to be more deliberate about engaging young people. I'm very deliberate about engaging my son, and he'll tell you that. People always laugh because they see my kids in particular spaces. They've learned the value of organizing things, not because I did it for them, but because I'm doing it alongside them. That's what the kids in our Duval community need. They don't just need us to do it for them. They need to see us wrap our arms around them and beside them. We have too many people making decisions for the youth in our community for them without them. And then we continue to wonder what the disconnect is. Even with the city of Gainesville, we created an extremely robust midnight basketball program. They shot it down and they created a midnight basketball program that ain't gonna change shit. They created a midnight basketball program that they're not even tracking the metrics and outcomes. And I was told, because we just need to get something started. If we stop throwing things together like lipstick on a pig and are actually very deliberate with our youth, it actually shows and it conveys. It's why some of the programs that we do have are so successful. They're so successful because the
Real
people.
quick for you, gotta they actually they actually started the midnight program, but what they really didn't allow y'all to do it because they trying to set something up in Butler Plaza to benefit off of it. Literally, like they want that because they trying to build a whole record, charge you per use, like charge you every time you go over that type of deal, and they don't want them to have no right. This whole thing with that they trying to set up. So it's crazy because you brung that specifically for stopping gun violence, stopping all. They trying to get their money.
And I just want to say, like, every time we come up with ideas or whenever we start to put in motion for our communities what they need, and, we bring forth, it's always happened where they be like, no, 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 we're not going to help. And then they come up with something that's kind of like the same thing or similar, and they're going to try it their way. They always do that all the time. I've never seen an instance where they haven't done that. So, I just want to say that, this is something that we really have to get heavily on. And I also would like, I don't want people to think, so I had somebody say, y'all think about, what's causing them to do it, but what about the people that have been directly affected, like the parents or whatever. But that's that's a thing that we need to do too. Are you okay? Like mental health checks in communities, that have been affected by gun violence. Like when that happened over there at, the Clarence R. Kelly Center. It should have been people there, and I'm talking to people in the streets, are you okay? Do you need anything? Because I don't know who was in the, how many children were inside the building, but 9 times out of 10, somebody was traumatized just by that incident. I don't want to go there no more. We don't want to go in there anymore. So I think, coming out to the communities when something does happen, I would really like to see a team of people. I can envision what that looks like, but a team of people that go on spots where, people have been affected by it, and ask them, do they need help, or what kind of services do they need somebody to talk to? Because we really don't get that in our neighborhoods. We don't get that.
So and that's what we're doing. So just like this, I wish I could see, I'm not sure why all of our viewers are not showing up, but a person states, I have 3 sons and it has been a challenge. When I was having issues with my son, I received no support until he got in trouble. So I wanted to make sure that I lifted this up because I had that same issue having sons and being a single parent. And so another thing, people will see information coming out this week. A year ago, I wrote a book. My book launched on July 17th. And one of the things, that's how I got into this advocacy and organizing, was being a parent. And one of the things that I realized is when I showed up in spaces, all of the programs that were made for us without us, all of the people that had savior mentality and savior complex, not realizing that they didn't even fully understand us in our culture. Our deal is that we can do this. I've been stating this a lot. So the work internally that has been done is we've created a training curriculum for people that want to come to this table. As I stated, people started getting calls on, I have 4 different lists where people have signed up. They got calls and they got text messages today. Tonight, and mind you, I came into the office at 7:30 this morning. I'm still here at 9:00 at night. Once I get home, I'm still going to send out emails to all of the people that did respond. Over 100 and something did. They're going to get information to an info session. That's for any of you all. It's time to start showing up so we can figure out what to do. And what we're going to do, because Shanae can't do it all, Tyra can't do it all, Keon can't do it all, is we're going to figure it out. We're going to do personality assessments. We're going to do skills assessments, and we're going to find out what your interests are. We're going to have a GRU campaign that's large that's coming up. We have people that we're helping to work with affordable housing, and we need to help to amp up that particular program. Gun violence is another particular issue. Also, building out our youth program. It's time to stop waiting for them to do it. And either we got 2 phenomenal programs built out. We just need people at the table to push our city and our county to implement our program in the Children's Trust. The fact that the money, all of the things that are doing are on our backs and we can't access what is rightfully ours is problematic. Additionally, and one of the things that is so important and imperative is to support candidates that are actually going to get in there and fight for us. We have to learn that as a people, and we don't know that. So things that are going to happen is people can come to me. I'm doing what's called one-to-ones. When I'm explaining to you what's going on, we're getting us connected as a group. We need to heal within our community. We need mental health services within our community. We need to just love on each other in our community. But at the same time, and we need to have fun, we can be working. So things that will be upcoming, there are 10 small areas in Alachua County, or 10 areas, from Gainesville to Moneo to Hawthorne to Alachua to Archer to Newberry to High Springs to Monty Oak, and there's two others I can't even think of off the top of my head. That we're going from now up until August the 23rd. We'll be setting up on a Saturday and a Sunday for people in the community to come out, have food, and we're gonna have a party. But at that party, it's time to come together and do the work in our community and stop waiting on somebody else to do it. It's time, even too. As I stated, I ain't made it there, but I'm coming to Peaceful Sundays, and y'all know me. And anywhere else that I go, it is time to deliberately go where our people are that can come to this table and help do something about it. I wanted to point out gun violence requires evidence based, multifaceted solutions that tackle causes such as poverty, structural inequalities embedded in society, promotion of community resilience, and dismantling social determinants of health. We can do this. We can talk about vocational training programs. We see that Diane McGraw talks about it a great deal. But one of the issues is that people that are willing to be champions for our causes find it a great difficult to be in the spaces they need to be in to champion our causes because we refuse to come to the table to get them there. We refuse to stay at the table to keep them there. And what happens is when you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And in Alachua County, Florida, like so many other places, we are on the menu, and it's up to us to do something about it. So everybody's going to give their final point. I'm going to look at some of the final points that were actually made. I'm asking you all, sign up on the link that I gave you today, and I actually dropped it in the comments. Come join us. Yes, it's hot. I kid you not, it's hot. Bring an umbrella, bring some water, but help me to go knock on some doors and talk to the people in these communities. We can, and we're starting at Clarence R. Kelly, but like I said, we're going into the smaller communities as well. It is time for us to stop ignoring people, and it's time for us to stop being ignored, but us being willing to take some time to do the work. People say, I'm so busy. You'd be surprised what an hour a week of your time can do. Imagine if just 1,000 people gave up an hour of their time. That's 1,000 hours worth of solid work. Imagine if just 200 people showed up to a city commission meeting and asked where our funding was for a program that's viable for us. Imagine the change that we can make and that we create. Imagine if you all came to this table, and I'm going to make this point before I leave. A lot of people say a lot of the phenomenal and the good work that's done, especially with organizations that I work with, us Black folks, from Black Parent Support Network to Florida Forward Coalition to even Shanae Jackson, the accidental activist. We do this on our backs. We are struggling to come up with money to pay people to do work that others could absolutely do for free or to support it because it's something that impacts the entire community. When we have people who care nothing about us that have boatloads of money that they're able to do whatever. The money at the Children's Trust, that is our money. And the fact that they want to invite people like me to the table to give them my free labor while they pay a consultant that knows nothing about us, we're going to learn that. So please be clear, when they go in space to say that I'm demanding to be paid, I'm absolutely demanding to be paid because my track record shows the work that gets done and shows the changes that's made. When we're raising money, it's not for Sinead. It is in order to try to be able to purchase supplies. It's to create curriculum. It's all of this stuff costs money. And it should not be that I got to do the work, pay for it, and then be the only person to show up as well. We need to be so much more deliberate. And that's the reason that I call us to account. That's the reason that I call us out. Guess what? All of our lives are busy and chaotic. And it's going to continue to be that way until we start to make some sacrifice to come to the table in order to change this. Keon and Tyra, your final thoughts.
So I just want to say a couple of things. Number one, it's not what if you can do something, is are you willing? Because everybody can do something. So, but are you willing to do something? Number two, I hear a lot of people talking about I can do this and we can be doing that, and I know somebody that do this, and I know people that do that, and everybody is waiting for the perfect opportunity for and able for them to jump in and do something. The opportunity is every day, all the time. So no matter who has what, I don't care who it is. You know what I'm saying? You know, like Shanae was saying earlier, you know, I don't mess with them or whatever. No, we all mess with each other because guess what? We all getting messed with. Okay, all of us is getting messed with, so we all should be messing with each other and doing whatever it is that we need to do for our community. The third thing I want to get across. This is for everybody that I come across, and I hear it and I see it on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, everything. Oh, I'm not worrying about nobody but me and mine. And as long as they go to school and get good grades and come in the house and they don't go nowhere and we don't do nothing, we gonna be all right. That is not true. That is not true. You are affected by it because you go to stores and you go to school and you're walking, and these are your communities. This is where you live at. If something happens in your community, you are impacted. Your neighbors are impacted. Everybody is impacted. So you just can't stay behind your closed doors and lock yourself in and look at our communities just dismantle, because you are also dismantling inside of your home. So I want everybody to understand this. We have to do this together. It takes all of us. And it doesn't matter who calls us to the table, how we get to the table, under the table, over the table. It doesn't matter. We all need to be there. So let's
Keon.
do it.
Uh, I was gonna say that just to close everything out on my end is more when it comes to gun violence. I look at it more like how I look at the healthcare crisis, how I look at reparations, all this other stuff. Like we are old that you know what I'm saying. Like it's just basic stuff being alive and breathing on Earth that we should have, and we allow ourselves to be caught up in this whole idea of freedom that you can do what you want to do, and you got the American dream and this and this that. I'm still breaking up. Oh Lord,
You still working
hold
up.
on, hold on. Give me 2 seconds. Let me try something. Like try this.
Yeah,
Is it better?
it's a little better.
Better
Go
now?
ahead.
I was just gonna say like we there's a lot of stuff that we owe, like you know gunshots or somebody shooting at you or stuff, stuff like that. If I got real sick and I got cancer, if I go to the hospital, if I'm gonna get the medication I need, you as a black person, you know what I'm saying, shouldn't have to worry about are they gonna try to lock me up in the cage. But worry about that we do have to worry about, and it's all because we won't come together, plan and implement the plan in place to change our, you know what I'm saying. So that stuff. It's not just black people in that stuff. That's all people having to come together. So and that's why because white people deal with gun violence just like we deal with it. Asian people, all people deal with it. I'm in America. At least I'm not talking about all over. I'm talking about America. All communities deal with a lot of stuff that we all deal with, but we so busy in our own corner that we can't learn that it's fight that we all got to fight together, and we'll never win. Like the system is so big, you will not beat the system to divide us the way it does and pit each other against each other. Like we can't beat the system and each other, so we have to choose. Would you rather fight against once another, fight amongst one another, actually holding you down?
That's it. And then my final thought is until we can't get in the weeds or focus on who's not willing to come to the table has been prepared. And so it's ready for anyone who's able to come to this particular table. I need people to understand because even two people are like, well, I'm not as available as I am to help one individual's issue. We're not getting that way. If we're getting it where we need to be in that way. If I work with one person or their issue and there's 25 others that got the same issue, it is better if we revamp and we hold people accountable for systems. It
Mhm.
is better if we come together and work as a collective. It's not that people don't agree with us, it's that we're out organized. And we've seen so many wonderful times throughout history that when we've been organized, what we've been able to accomplish. And so again, that final call to action is to sign up and Saturday, come door knocking. And you know, if you don't, I'm gonna be in my feelings. I'm gonna get on Facebook because everybody out. I shouldn't have to do that. These are sacrifices that are worth it. Because even if you don't live in the Duval area on 8th Avenue, we're so interconnected and woven, we all do. And we shouldn't have to wait till it's a stray bullet that hits somebody that we know and love. We shouldn't have to wait until it's our sister, cousin, brother, or whoever it is, or our child. We can be proactive. We don't have to be sitting like feeling like we're sitting ducks if we're willing to make that sacrifice. And that's what this is about. And my deal is, even for those of you that's not willing to walk 8th Avenue, because I walk it all day long, just like I do Sugar Hill, there's so many other places. Be willing to get and to make phone calls on behalf of candidates. Be willing to make phone calls on my behalf to get more people to the table. Be willing to show up to meetings. Be willing to show up to events that we're having. I kid you not, if you come to any event that I host, we're gonna have fun. It's always food, it's always music, it's always a DJ, it's always a good time. And even if it's a meeting, there's always games. I don't know if you got kids, bring your kids, because trust me, we got somebody to do some things in order to keep them occupied. And we do that in order to reduce barriers. If you got transportation issues, let somebody know ahead of time. We have created this opportunity where any challenge that you have, one of the reasons that we stream online and do this is not because we want to, because we understand that some people have
You
to
know
do
what I mean?
shift work and they need to be able to go back and watch it. And I understand that. So we're getting ready to sign off. I do hope that it's something that you learn before we do. I'd like anybody who's tuned in to drop in the chat what is something either that you learned or one word about how you're feeling after tonight's show.
All righty. Well, we want
And
to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. And of course, we want to see you again next week. We will most definitely be putting that flyer out tomorrow to let you know what we're going to be conversating about next week. So, like I always say, collect your thoughts, but keep your conversations loud, and we'll see you next week. Thank
and
you.
to also let you know for next week, we will be talking about GRU.
Oh yes, that's going to be a good one. Because right now I'm mad at GRU. Like I'm mad at
Everybody.
them.
So I want to make
So
y'all laugh before we go while people are weighing in. I know someone said they became educated. Somebody sent me a video of a man who went and paid his utility company in pennies. I actually did that. I went to GRU. I ended up with a 600 or something dollar light bill one month. I went and got all pennies and went and paid GRU in coins. So I have been there. That is my level of petty. But as it relates to GRU, there's a lot of policy issues that related to a citizen's own utility that we can actually make an impact about.
yep.
Additionally, there are a lot of things that we can make our city commission accountable for. So I need us to understand that with the poor leadership of many of the members of our commission and the poor leadership of so many poor hires with our city manager, that's on the back of us because that money that comes from personnel comes from the GRU general funds transfer. Additionally, we are cleaning up a mess. Lauren Polk was a part of that mess when it came to the biomass plant. So we really want to sit next week and be able to lay out GRU what policies we actually can impact because rates are not up. There are other ways that we can actually lower our bills, and then also steps proceeding forward. So as I stated, there's a lot of organizing that we can do as a community. We just got to be willing to put in the work. Even if you live in the county and you're impacted by GRU and you live in the county, period, you still tune in and you pay attention because after GRU, we will start to have candidates on. We start to actually talk and educate the issues. And then we actually will do like large conversations. And now Shanae Jackson, accidental activist through talking shit, we will release an official slate card that you will be able to take with you to the actual polls. Everything that's on that ballot, you'll be able to have with you in order to be able to take as an educated and an informed voter. So thank you all. Have a good night. Thanks for joining us for talking shit. And what is your favorite thing to say, Tara, about Make It Down?
What? That's right. Collect your thoughts, but always keep your conversations loud. Make sure that people hear you. That's what this show is about. It's about people hearing you. Loud is just not about being loud. It's about people seeing you, hearing you, feeling you. So just be out loud. All right. And we'll see you next week. And thank you for tuning in.